Chapter 3: The Man in the Dirty Robes. April 13th, 10:55 a.m. 70 miles outside of Alcantara, Spain, a blinding brightness emanates from the colossal asteroid colliding with a 20-ton nuclear warhead. The piercing light cuts through the 300-mile thick atmosphere, outshining the sun for fleeting moments. In a field 2 billion feet below the impact point, a man stands alone, his denim overalls stained and dirty. It seems as though he deliberately smudged certain areas, creating an image of someone who has endured hardships or simply stopped caring. For months, he has occupied this spot, searching for some sign. Although whether it foretold the end of the world or the asteroid's demise remains unclear. A young brunette appears before the man, and he reacts with familiarity. Speaking entirely in Spanish, she says, "Wow, we survived." Jesus, that was some explosion. Kaboom! You saw that, Eliza? The man's excitement matches his words. Oblivious to the sea of people a couple of hundred yards behind him, thousands of individuals had gathered, hoping to witness the asteroid before it obliterated their lives. Now, the luminous sky assures them of their survival. I can't believe it's really over. I can't wait to taste Papa's brew tonight, he continues. However, Eliza's attention shifts as the mention of Papa stirs something within her. She glances at the house that now doubles as a reinforced fallout shelter, where her family sought protection from a potential global crisis. Captivated by Papa's brewing, the man prattles on, but Eliza no longer listens. She dashes away instead, traversing the open fields where faces soon emerge in clusters. The crowd before her continues to celebrate their second chance at life, thanks to the swift actions of the United States government. Eliza's would-be boyfriend intercepts her, attempting to propose something, but she disregards him, fixated on the storm shelter behind him. Her urgency stems from what or who lies beneath his protective structure. With haste, Eliza reaches the entrance, her sprint coming to an abrupt halt. She gazes at the doorway, filled with a sense of overwhelming joy. Collecting herself, she moves forward, unnoticed by the jubilant people lost in their newfound lease on life. Only a nearby Labrador acknowledges Eliza's erratic movements, responding playfully with a bark. She approaches the heavy door with caution, afraid of disturbing the tranquility that awaits her below. After a moment's hesitation, Eliza reaches for the rusted handles protruding from the wooden doors. She unlocks a series of locks, opens pre-entry doors, and faces the final barrier, a steel door guarding the modified storm shelter. Initially, her gentle tugs yield little progress. Throwing caution to the wind, she yanks the handle with force. The door flies open unexpectedly, surprising Eliza herself. She pays it no mind, driven by her eagerness to explore the chamber that lies beneath. "Papa?" Eliza whispers, her voice barely audible in the uncharted darkness of the room. With cautious steps, she moves forward, mindful of the need for silence in this unfamiliar territory. Her eyes dart around, searching for any signs of light or another person. "Papa, are you down here?" A faint glimmer catches her attention, casting a dim light on a nearby wall. Intrigued, Eliza follows the flickering glow, hoping it will lead her to a more welcoming sight amidst the mysterious and foreboding atmosphere. As she approaches, the source of light reveals a bed. A candle, almost extinguished, sits on a nightstand, illuminating a figure lying beneath the blanket. Her heart pounds in her chest as she focuses her energy and emotions on the unknown entity before her. "Papa?" she calls out, her voice filled with a mix of apprehension and hope. The flickering candlelight adds an eerie touch to her worried expression, intensifying the sense of uncertainty that lingers in the air. With a quiet gulp, she musters the courage to reach for the blanket. "Over here, Eliza." A voice calm and familiar hits her ears like a beach wave. It startles her, causing her to both jolt and freeze simultaneously. Her eyes shift to the left, where she sees the feet and robe of someone she deeply cherishes, sitting alone in a chair. "Papa!" Eliza cries out. Her attention shifts completely from the body under the blanket to her papa. Tears stream down her face. "It's over, Papa. It's really over." She collapses at his feet, kneeling and clutching his legs. "They blew it up. They blew up Apophis. We're saved. There's going to be a big celebration tonight, and people from all over have come to rejoice at their second chance at life. Everyone is waiting for you, Papa. You have to join us." "Heh, certainly, dear, certainly," Papa responds in a calm voice. "Why don't you go ahead and start? I'll catch up with you in a bit." Eliza hears his words but does not move. She buries her face in his lap, embracing him with overwhelming gratitude for everything he has done. At this moment, she realizes how close she came to losing the opportunity to experience this precious reunion. Thoughts of what might have been and regrets that could have been fulfilled flood her mind, and she finds herself sobbing uncontrollably. Through her tears, she manages to utter the words, "I love you so much, Papa Aleph." After the cathartic release in Papa Aleph's presence, Eliza composes herself and rises. She gazes at him one last time, a smile forming on her lips. With a nod of determination, she runs back towards the entrance of the featureless basement, guided solely by anticipation, not relying on any source of light. Her steps reflect the excitement and energy of a child entering a theme park for the first time. She exits the basement, ready to embrace the life she almost never had. Papa Aleph remains seated in the comforted darkness of the room, as there is no place more fitting for him. The distant, lit candle serves as a way to appear less peculiar to those who have grown to love him and help avoid the assumption that he has succumbed to madness by sitting alone in complete darkness. However, his apparent aversion to light is only superficial. In truth, he has developed a deep appreciation for it, recognizing the nourishment and purpose it provides to all living and non-living things, everywhere, all times whenever it is present. Now, he rises from his chair and strides across the basement floor, heading towards the sunlight that seeps through the entrance Eliza had departed from. Wrapped in his signature grayish, oversized robe that drapes down to the floor, Papa Aleph's figure is shrouded from the chin down. He steps into the sunlight, revealing garments reminiscent of those worn by Greek scholars during the time of Pericles, albeit repurposed and patched together in a modern fashion. Every part of him, except his eyes and top of his head, bask in the radiant starlight. He gazes upward, beyond the clouds, beyond the remnants of the International Space Station, fixing his eyes on the precise location where Apophis met its irreversible fate with a modern weapon. He takes in a deep breath, a sense of contentment spreading across his face. "I'm coming, Ida." In the nation's capital, President Lamarche, still reeling from the shocking revelation, tries to process the words burnt into his retinas. The weight of the situation hangs heavy in the room as the president grapples with the implications of Russia's drastic actions. He voices his disbelief as if trying to convince himself that such a drastic escalation to actual war could occur despite everything that has transpired. "My God, I knew Russia was on edge, but I never imagined they pulled something as drastic as this. Actual war? After all that's happened?" he asked, his voice filled with a mix of astonishment and disbelief. Attempting to dispel the president's fears while offering a reasonable suggestion, General Clemens steps in. He wants to calm the situation, urging caution and patience. "Sir, we don't yet know the extent of the threat. It's best we wait to better assess their declaration," he says. his tone measured and composed. However, Dr. Booyah wastes no time in reminding them of the brutal truth behind the situation. He firmly interjects, "We just killed 2 of their astronauts." General Clemens quickly responds, adamantly defending their actions. "No, Apophis just killed 2 of their astronauts. We neutralized an asteroid and prevented a global catastrophe." Dr. Booyah, unfazed by the general's response, explains his perspective further. He accesses the table once again, this time presenting a simulation video of Apophis's trajectory over the past few years. The room's attention turns towards the enlightened scientist, eager to hear his insights. As we all know, Apophis's trajectory projections originally showed that the asteroid was to miss Earth entirely. Thanks to Russian astronauts Volodya Tesla and Marla Tereshkova, we were able to safely divert the asteroid out of Earth's path via the Yarkovsky effect. However, an additional 1.2 trillion kilograms of mass of unknown origin were inexplicably added to Apophis, causing it to reshift its trajectory back towards the planet. He pauses, allowing his words to sink in. General Clemens seizes the moment, offering a counterpoint. "And that's why we blew it up. The asteroid changed direction too suddenly, and we had no time to formulate a new plan of action. It was our only option." Dr. Booyah affirms his statement. "Agreed. However, we recalculated Apophis's trajectory with the added mass, and something interesting was revealed," he says, stepping over to another part of the table. President Lamarche, no longer willing to be held in suspense, eagerly prompts Dr. Booyah, "What did you find?" Dr. Booyah taps the screen. "The asteroid was on course for us, sir." A heavy silence fills the room. The atmosphere, usually bustling with constant conversation and information exchange, is now tinged with an unfamiliar tone of unease and discomfort. The implications of the situation slowly settle in, causing a collective realization that extends beyond the walls of the room. General Clemens, known for his unyielding composure, finds himself surprised and confused. He poses a question to Dr. Booyah, desperately seeking understanding. "Us? What do you mean, us?" "The United States," Dr. Booyah says. "You had your people on this rock around the clock. How did you not know about this?" The speechless general finds himself unable to answer the question. To hide his shame, he turns his head from Dr. Booyah, only for his wavering gaze to be met by his president's piercing glare. President Lamarche stares at the general relentlessly, with a scowl telegraphing an expression of disappointment, frustration, and slight befuddlement. The general, with nothing to say for his actions, bows his head in shame. "Where?" President Lamarche asks, readdressing the situation at hand. The smart glass beeps. "Kansas." He stares at a digital topographical map of Wichita for a bit. "Right in the goddamn middle." "Yes, and we prevented that," interjects General Clemens, irritated by his faux pas. "We saved millions of American lives. Why am I the only one happy about that?" "Because it would have been our disaster and our disaster alone. Only 5% of the global population would have been eradicated. We were the 5%, Dr. Booyah says. "Don't you see? We've turned our problem into everyone else's problem." "What?" the general asked, legitimately stumped. If the original asteroid would have struck Kansas, it would have created a crater 15 miles wide, generating a shockwave that would have extended as far west as Utah and as far east as Kentucky. The impact from the blast would have destroyed a great part of the United States, with residual damage along the Mexican and Canadian borders. As bad as all that seems, it is unfortunately nothing compared to mankind's current predicament. A fairly large part of General Clemens, a man who has dedicated his existence to fighting for and protecting his country, is comfortably relieved that his president chose instead to do the same for their nation. Whether or not he knew he was going to is irrelevant to him at this point. The result, in this case, is all that matters. As the weight of the situation settles upon the room, a palpable tension hangs in the air. The cabinet members, each immersed in their thoughts, contemplate the far-reaching implications of the current state of affairs. Their expertise and responsibilities guide their reflections, shedding light on the complex challenges that lie ahead. The Secretary of State, well-versed in international diplomacy, considers the potential consequences for the relationships and alliances the United States has painstakingly cultivated with its global partners. The delicate balance of trust and cooperation could be severely tested by the revelation of this scheme. Meanwhile, the Chief of Staff, entrusted with maintaining order and efficiency within the White House and across the various government sectors, grapples with the monumental task that lies before him. The President's mind works tirelessly, connecting the scattered pieces of the puzzle before him. His keen ability to decipher complex schemes, honed during his years as a district attorney, comes up to the forefront. Known as Cogwork Law, or the culprit in his earlier days, he earned a reputation for unraveling crimes with astonishing precision. His mind functions like the intricate cogs of a clock, working harmoniously with the others to achieve a higher function. It is a combination of his eidetic memory and his innate talent for filling in gaps that sets him apart. Even now, after nearly 2 decades since his days as the culprit, he finds himself utilizing his exceptional gift to grasp the enormity of the situation before him. Yet, the scale of this scheme surpasses anything he has encountered in the past. It looms larger than any petty criminal plot, and yet he senses a form of malevolence at play. As the President contemplates the motives and implications, a sense of urgency overtakes him. He turns his attention back to the room, the weight of his realization evident in his gaze. The cabinet members, lost in their thoughts, look to the President for guidance. That would have made Russia the #1 superpower in the world. The President mutters out the words under his breath as quickly as they enter his mind. "Sir," General Clemens says. He checks if the mumbling coming from his leader is understandably senseless blabber resulting from all that has happened. "Wait a minute," the President says, these words more audible. "They were counting on us to blow up Apophis." "Who?" "Russia," President Lamarche responds, refusing to lift his bowed head. "They knew we would do anything to protect American lives. The Yakarsky mission, it was never supposed to work." The suddenness of this realization causes President Lamarche to become lightheaded, causing his 62-year-old knees to wobble and bend. The primary motor cortex, responsible for most muscle movements, does its best to work with his semi-conscious mind to perform the function that tells the muscle in his legs to remain tight. The best this connection achieves is a forced back pedal into his esteemed custom-made presidential seat that luckily embraces his fall and cushions his landing. The cabinet watches helplessly as the chair catches their leader, and some of them silently thank God it did. The President waves off the handful of associates who make a move to come to his aid and takes a moment to gather himself before speaking again. They wanted us to blow it up from the beginning," he says. "But, sir, we didn't know that Apophis was headed for the United States," Dr. Booya tells him, and though he now shares the President's sentiments, he still speaks to raise his spirits. No, but they did," the President somberly responds, almost autonomous from his will. "Then we must also assume they knew about the X-Mass." General Clemens, all caught up, poses a theory of his own to bring more light to the matter. "Wait a minute. Dr. Booya, you said Apophis would have destroyed only part of the country," he begins, confident he has found some silver lining from the dire alternative. "How is that possible if an additional 1 trillion tons were added to it? At that weight, wouldn't a rock have destroyed more than just a part of the country? Wouldn't the entire world have been at stake regardless of where it would have landed?" "You're absolutely right, General. The projection that I shared with you was of the asteroid without the X-mass. The original path of Apophis was slated to land somewhere in Siberia or the Atlantic. Nobody knows about the additional mass except for the Russians, and we have no way to prove that there was more mass added to Apophis. Not right away anyway. And they know that, but they also probably never imagined that we would find that out so soon, which gives them a small window to declare war on us, General Clemens says assuredly. Dr. Booya, how much more damage would Apophis have caused with the additional X-mass had we not destroyed it? Dr. Booya chuckles a bit at the General's question. If we never blew up the new asteroid that was headed for us, then America as we know it would no longer exist. And General, I'm not talking about the United States of America. I'm talking about every America. North America, South America, Central America, gone. Earthquakes, tsunamis, hurricanes, and every natural disaster you could think of would have occurred all around the planet, killing hundreds of millions. Modern human beings would have effectively experienced their first ice age, which, after a few years, would have tipped the death toll into the billions. And that's being modest. The General absorbs this information, understanding the magnitude of their actions. He turns to the President, his voice resolute. What are your orders, sir? President LaMarche rises from his chair, regaining his composure. He addresses the room with determination. Contact Russia. Inform them that Apophis is now a global threat and is currently heading for them as well. And as of now, the United States is the only nation in the world that can protect them. The President rises and heads to the exit. Before he leaves, a cabinet member raises concerns about other regions, including China and the Middle East. The President pauses and sighs, realizing the challenges ahead. I have to make a phone call, he says. Without looking back, he exits the Situation Room.